Welcome back, guys. I'm Tier 1 Collections. Today in this video I'm going to explain exactly what cards you should be grading right now to make a profit or to hold long term.
I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Morant. Need a triple double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple.
Alright, guys. So for starters, I'm going to start with a disclaimer here. Illustration wares are really attractive when it comes to grading because they're generally speaking low cost in. But the reason for that is they're generally hard to grade. And I will say they're really hard to grade with a lot of consistency. So for this example, I'm going to show Charmander from 151. Now this is a really good payoff, right? So this card is going for over 350 in a 10. This is Japanese. So we got a 380, 375, 360, right? The card itself on TCG Player, we're looking at about 47 bucks at the market price. It's kind of went down and up all over the place, but it's been held steady for pretty much above $25. So again, this is a pretty good payoff. If you find a clean copy, I'm not saying don't grade it. I'm just saying a disclaimer here. This is an extremely high populated card here. We're looking at 7,300 in a 10 and 13,726 in a 9 and a bunch of 8s as well. Just making sure I was lined up there. Yeah, so like it's a super high pop card. You can see that it is pretty hard to grade. Like we're talking, I mean, I don't know what that percentage is off the top of my head, but that's around 1,800 or 18,000 that have gotten 9s and 8s, and only 7,000. So out of 25,000, only 7,000 are getting 10s. So they're pretty hard to grade. The thing is with illustration rares, like the Charmander is a good example of one that you would want to grade, right? Because that is a pretty good multiplier from the raw cost to the graded cost, 10 to 10. So if you find a clean copy, grade it. But what I'm saying is like you look at, I don't know, name a random illustration rare from any set. They might be $50 in a 10, and it might be $5 to buy it. But what does it cost to grade it? Is it really worth taking that risk of, basically putting $25 into a card for potentially being 50? Because if it does get the 9, like I said, it's really hard to get that 10 consistently. Is it worth risking that $25? Now I think for the Charmander, for example, it is worth it, but for some of these other ones it might not be worth it. So that's something you want to take into account. All right, so focusing on the cards that I think that you guys should attack, the stuff that I've had success with. If you've never been on this website, this is Poke Collector. This is just a really good way of seeing every single card in a set. This is kind of what I use. Just super easy to do if you want to keep track of stuff that you have. But we'll look at Modern right now. I think Destined Rivals is still an underrated set. So you scroll all the way down to the bottom because we're focusing on the SIRs here. I think the Moltres went down recently because of the announce of the Ultra Premium collection with it. But I think Mewtwo is right around where it's going to be for a while. I think that the prices are really weird on Destined Rivals right now because I don't think it's been opened a crazy amount. Not like Prismatic and stuff like that, but I think that the cards, all of these cards are really, really solid and they're all going to retain value. I'm not saying you should open it. I'm saying that you should target buying some of these cards at a good price. Specifically if they start dipping. I know the Mewtwo you can get, I bought one not too long ago for $325, and then I bought one literally last week for $350. Both very, very clean copies. It's about 1,100 in a 10, I believe. Let me just double check so I'm not saying any BS. But what am I saying? Rockets Mewtwo. Okay, yeah. So we have one sold yesterday for close to 1,200, about 1,100. So it's went up a little bit. It dipped down to about 1,000. I don't think it's went under that. It's just a really solid play. Again, we're talking. I'll show the math here. So if we sell it for 1,100, or sorry, we buy it for 350. We'll just say 400 with tax. Grading it's going to be about value max about 65 bucks. So we go plus 65. So our total cost then will be 465. And then if we sell it for 1150, calculate eBay fees, boom, minus 465. So you make about 500 bucks on a Mewtwo. So I think Mewtwo is a very solid play overall, but the main thing that I'm trying to say is that it's these top hits of the set. So we'll look at Journey Together is probably not the best one, but some like this Clefairy, I think Journey Together is pretty underrated. I think if you can get Clefairy for a solid deal, I think this Salamence is super underrated as well. The Pikachu here is severely dipped down as well in Surging Sparks. Where is it? Right here. I think the Milotic and Latias are also really good plays. Hydreigon kind of. Again, if you find these copies and they're clean, pick them up. But the stuff that you want to stay away from is some of the illustration rares, like that, like these newer stuff from Black Bolt, White Flare. Like just like this P-Dove is super cool, but in a 10 it might be $75 right now or whatever. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But the problem is that the risk to reward ratio, if you're not going to consistently get 10s on these illustration rares, trust me, I've tried. It's just not going to happen. But these types of cards, these bigger hitters, when you're making, 500 to 600 a card, like I bought this for raw at 450, and I just got a 10 on it, so it's about 1600 in a 10. So you're talking about close to $1,000 payoff for one singular card. Granted, it's a bigger risk, but these IRs, like I said, you just can't consistently pre-grade them well. Print lines, and even if they're clean on the back, it's just the silvering on the side is super weird. So specifically in Scarlet and Violet, that's the stuff that I would look at. Obviously, Bubble Mew is a banger. Always take a look at any Bubble Mew you see in the wild. I would say all three of these are pretty good. The Charizard, Gardevoir, and Mew. And like bigger cards like Snorlax, Pikachu, these more popular Pokemon are okay too. Charmander, Charmeleon, obviously. But for Scarlet and Violet, obviously, again, these are another big ones. The big three here. I would say the Alakazam, though it hurts my heart, is probably not. Zapdos is pretty good, but all five of these are pretty solid, and they're really not super expensive raw. I mean, the Charizard's climbed back up over to 1,000 in a 10, I believe. Let's take a look. Charizard 151 SIR. Yeah. Ooh. Wow. I had a crazy sale here. Somebody listed up pretty low. But yeah, it's selling for about 1,000 now. 1,100 a couple days ago. Yeah, so this one's went back up. So these SIRs, you can probably find this raw for 250. And that's just stuff that you want to look out for. All right, going into some older stuff. This is the stuff that I prefer right now. Looking at staying away from some trainer galleries, but going for Sword and Shield. Like the Giratina, the Aerodactyl, these two are great. Really, really great, because I will say, when I pick up Sword and Shield cards to grade, it's really easy to tell if they're going to get a 10. I don't know what it is about these borders and everything, but it's easy to see the centering. There's not really many surprises. They're texture cards. The SIRs with the in the Scarlet and Violet era with like the glittery finish on them, specifically like the Gardevoir from Paldean Fates, it's really hard to see sometimes. It might look good on the surface, but there's some like minor defects that can bring it down to an 8 or a 9. It's hard to see, but I've had super good luck specifically with this card in general. I've probably graded 15 of these. I kept one for my collection, and every time I see them clean, I pick them up. I think that Aerodactyl is completely underrated. Giratina is a super expensive one, so if you're into it like that, then do it. Lugia from Silver Tempest is another good one. Not all of them are great plays, though. Like Unknown, Skuntank, and Regidrago are not. These cards just don't have the value. Though, if you find a clean copy and you really like the card, I'm not saying don't grade it if I'm just saying for the profit side of things. I like this Skuntank. I actually have one in a bulk submission. I like this card. But the Lugia is really the only one in here. We can take a look at some of the other ones. Chilling Reign is great right now. The Blaziken is not really worth the bang for the buck. It's about $650 in a 10, and it's $350 raw. This is just one of those cards that the 10 price, it just tends so often with the pop and everything that it's just not really worth the squeeze. So you might make $100 off of it. Now, if you really want the card, by all means, grade it. And if you think it's clean, I did the same thing. It's just the way that it goes. So like this Moltres is another great one. The Zero Aura is pretty solid. This would be like a bulk sub card, but I mean, I think we could check the Zero Aura actually. I actually just picked one of these up as well. Chilling Reign. Yeah, so about $200, and you're gonna spend about $50 on it. So all in all, if you send it in a bulk sub, you're gonna be in about $75. After eBay fee, you're gonna make $100 on a card that you're not risking too much on. I think that's pretty solid. Galarian Slowking's another good one. Fusion Strike, obviously, the Gengar is one that you want to focus on as well. Gengar, I love this Celebi. This one, Fusion Strike, habitually has really bad quality problems, centering and stuff like that. Like I said, but it's really, really easy to tell which ones are good and which ones aren't. So Celebi's good, Mew's pretty solid, Espeon, this Mew is good, Inteleon's not. Gengar's obviously fantastic. Some of these cards just have insane payoffs in tens. We're talking about like $1,500 difference between the raw cost to that price. But looking at like trainer galleries, I'll just use this as an example. These are just not. There's only one card in here that I would consider, and it's this Rayquaza. Just like these base trainer gallery, like the illustration rares of the trainer galleries, just really don't shake out to be worth it. Like I said, you might get a 10 and it might be $50. It's just not the thing I would go for. Specifically, like even this Cricketune, like I love this card. I think this card is super cool. It's just not worth it. I graded one of them just because I wanted one for the PC, and I'm getting a 10, and I checked the price and it was like $35 in a 10. And I paid like $4 for the card. So yeah, I made like $6, but it's not worth the risk. Yeah, it's absolutely not worth the risk because you just never know. Like your grader could have a bad day. There is some randomness added to the fact of grading and everything, as you guys know. Now some of the Crown Zenith Galarian Gallery, I would stay away from anything up from Mareep. Leaf Young can be good. The Legendary Dogs, I said, is good grading play. Glaceon. This Simisear has went up a little bit. Deoxys, Mewtwo, obviously, is really good. It's went up. It's about $350 and a 10 right now, and you could probably find it for about 100 raw. Darkrai's pretty solid. And then the gold cards. That's pretty much all I would touch in Crown Zenith. None of these, though. Even Pikachu. It's just not worth it. They're super hard to grade, too. Looking at... Is there any more training? Oh, we can look at Astral Radiance real quick. I don't believe there's any in Astral. Oh, Starmie. I think Garchomp's in here too. Yeah, Garchomp and Starmie are pretty solid. Other than that, I wouldn't touch any of them. Unless you like a card, like I said. If you like it, it means more to you and you plan on keeping it and you think it will 10, buy it, pick it up, put it in your collection. I do that all the time. Save that extra $30, even if it's that. Just to add, I mean, you can add a whole additional card to your collection with that money. All right, this is where we get a little bit bigger. I hope this is not just like obvious. I'm telling you to pick up cards that are really popular, but these are the cards you want to keep an eye out for. So I love this Vileplume card, but like these tag teams, I bought this card, and you guys saw it on my channel. I had a return for it. I got a 10. I bought it for about $33, I believe, and I just sold it on eBay for $303. So I mean, obviously that was worth it. So these base tag team cards, and this Blastoise is really expensive too. So if you can get this for $50, I mean, I think it sells it for in a 10 about 500. So again, with these tag team, these base cards, this is the same rarity as a Scarlet and Violet EX. For those of you that are new to the game and that weren't around opening packs back then, this is the same rarity. So the same, base EX that you get from, Surging Sparks is this rarity. Like there's so many of these out there, and they're really easy to come across, these specific tag teams. Now, when you get into the alt art tag teams, i.e., this Blastoise, this Solgaleo Lunala, this Vileplume, Lopunny, the statue Arceus Dialga Palkia, etc. These are so much rarer. And if you check the pop on these, most of these are around 1,000 in a 10. When you look at modern day, like the Charizard in 151 is probably, or like the Gray Felt Out Pikachu is like 30,000 in a 10. Like these are super low pop in the grand scheme of things, but they're sought after cards because they're tag teams. Now, this was a time that Pokemon wasn't printing as much, but you'll still find these out there. And Sun and Moon quality is not awful. It's pretty solid. It's not as good as Sword and Shield quality, but like I check these out no matter what, because you just really don't come across these. And I'd be willing to take a risk on some of these. Again, you can, like this card's like 2K in a 10, I know, because I just checked it yesterday. You can get this for $300, $350. Like that's just an insane payoff if you find a clean copy of this. And it's usually pretty obvious with Sun and Moon stuff what the defects are. So I would keep an eye out for all of these, specifically the alt arts. But take a look at these popular ones like this Blastoise and Cosmic Eclipse is great. You can probably find this for under $100, and it's a $500 card in a 10. Obviously everybody's familiar with Team Up. I'm not even gonna waste my time with that one. That one's super out there. Hidden Fates, I honestly wouldn't touch Hidden Fates. The only ones I would touch is Charizard, maybe Umbreon, Espeon, Glaceon, maybe. They're just really, this is one of the most graded sets of all time. People love this set. Even before, this is part of the reason why PSA shut down during COVID. Everybody was grading stuff like that. If you could get like a Jesse and James for like really cheap, like under $20, I could send it. You could send it in a bulk sub. It's about 175 in a 10. Charmander, Charmeleon are okay, but like it's really just Charizard or Umbreon probably in this set. Like I said, unless you like the card for Hidden Fates specifically. I've had a few questions about that. We can look at Unbroken Bonds. Again, you pretty much want to go for like popular stuff. Machamp and Marshallow's pretty solid. Greninja Zoroark's pretty solid. Muck and Alolan is not very popular, but I like it. I just sold one of these for $2.25 and I bought it for $28, I think. So decent bulk sub. This one's pretty good. Greninja and Zoroark. Sylveon and Guardy, another like, I think it's like 2,300 in a 10. It's about 1,000 in a 10 for Machamp and Marshadow. These are really good ones. I mean, you can do well on really the main one with the best. Like this is pretty solid base card. You could probably find this for $40. Goes for about $250 in a 10. Those are the stuff you want to keep out for. Again, there's so many of those out there. They're the same rarity as a base EX, base V. Like there were so many of those out there. They're pretty easy to come by. This Psyduck and Slowpoke's really solid in Unified Minds. Umbreon Darkrai, obviously. Anything Umbreon's really solid, generally speaking. The alt arts, as we said before. So, and a full art, like this Mew and Mewtwo is pretty solid. The full arts are generally pretty easy to grade, actually. Same with the alt arts. Like I said, they're just really easy to tell what's wrong with them. They have the same texture and border style as Sword and Shield. But when you're looking at it, again, I'll mention this again because I've had comments about it. The border doesn't matter. The black border right here doesn't matter. As long as the silver that's under it is centered up, that's all that matters. None of the black line matters at all. It throws your eyes off, and you can find these out in the wild pretty often. Just keep an eye on that when you go to purchase these cards. All right, this is the last and final section of this video. I'm going to go over XY. So XY is a weird one. This is certain things that I always look at XY cards and I'm almost always disappointed. The quality in this generation is awful, right? So, but XY and Sun and Moon kind of have the weird thing where basically you can buy a card at like the 7-8 price, and even if it gets a 9, you can make profit, right? And you can take that shot at the 10 for essentially free, right? It's a little less risky. So for example, this Pikachu, I graded a couple of these. They weren't perfect. I was hoping that they'd get a 9 because the 9, I got it for, I think, $80, I think. And the 9 was over 100. So I was like, okay, perfect. The 10 in this is crazy, and it wasn't going to get a 10. I wanted one for my collection. That's the kind of thing that you have to kind of take into account, is understand that it's probably not going to get a 10. It's much harder to pre-grade that way when you're looking at them in store or wherever you are. But XY kind of has to be that way. Now, if you find a clean copy of XY, for example, Fates Collide, I love Alakazam, as some of you know. I got a Megazam picked up, and it actually got a 10 recently. This card, I think I bought it for $75. It's, over $1,000 in 10 because it's super low pop. These are a little bit easier to tell. The thing to look out for in XY stuff is this top border here gets like a weird, like dents in the top. So it's pretty, once you see it, if you look at a 10, you'll see that they look more like Sword and Shield era cards where they're very crisp borders, but you will see a lot of copies of these full arts. We'll look at Umbreon up at the top here that have like these like edges and stuff like that. But as long as the back's clean and it's centered up, I would take the chance on XY. Some of these cards are super low pop, and I'll show one of the prime examples of that here in Furious Fists. This Heracross, if you guys don't know, this Heracross right here is a pop 4 and a 10. It's insane. You can look at it. It's super hard to find. It's just off center all the time. The whitening on it is insane. Furious Fist quality is horrible. This Dragonite's pretty low pop as well. So stuff you want to keep an eye out for. XY full arts are really good if you think they can get 10s. And basically everything after that, I wouldn't touch, to be completely honest. Now, if there's something, like I said, if you want it, get it. But anything back here, vintage and stuff like that, if you get a gold star or like an EX from the EX era or a crystal, or really any Skyridge clean copy I would grade. But like some of these vintage, like you'll find like a good base set 2 holo, and it comes back an 8. They're pretty much always going to come back 8s or 9s. I wouldn't do it. Again, if you want to keep it for your own collection, then do it. But to sell it that's not the move. Don't just stay away from vintage, unless it's potentially a gold star, an EX, E series maybe, specifically crystals from Quaplus and Skyridge, and then shinings from here, from Neo Rev and Neo Destiny. That's pretty much the only stuff that I would like. Oh wow, like I'd definitely take a look at it. Now, if there's a solid, maybe a base set Charizard, I might take a look at it, but I'm probably not going to buy it. So that's the once over everything that you should be going after. All right, I hope that helped. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I will try to get to you. If you haven't already, join my Discord. That's where I'm way more active on. I can help you guys find out plays, and we've built a solid community so far, and they've been helping each other out even when I don't respond, or if I'm a day late or whatever. It's usually somebody replying to it pretty instantly. So the link will be in the description. Please join the Discord. We can get everyone together. We can work together and start making some money. Hope you enjoyed. May your next card be a PSA 10.
I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Morant. Need a triple double. Told him check the stats.